So beautiful to see you all and be together. So, starting as we always do with one of our questions that's come in advance from our family joining us online. And then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here has. We've got the microphone right here, so feel free to come up to the mic and share your question. I am not able to forgive people, and I want to be free from anger. This is from Rajender Kaur, joining from our website. So anger and forgiveness, they're connected, of course, but they're also separate. Anger is what happens in the moment, and a lack of forgiveness is what happens afterwards. Let's look at anger first. Now, if I say to you all right now, okay, you've got 30 seconds. And in those 30 seconds, I want you to get as absolutely angry as you possibly can. Like, your face should get red, you should sweat, you should really be, in 30 seconds, as full of anger as you can be. Okay, go. Why are you laughing? I told you all to get angry. It's an interesting thing, because if I say how many of you have been angry over the last week, I would imagine most of our hands would go up. And yet, we cannot generate anger on command. Anger arises from unconsciousness. Now, I don't mean the righteous anger. I don't mean the stuff like we're angry that children are dying of starvation, or angry that our planet is being decimated and trees are being cut down. Not that type of anger, because that's something that we're pretty much always angry about. But it's also not something for most of us that raises our blood pressure, steals our appetite, ruins our circulatory system, prevents us from sleeping at night. That type of anger arises out of unconsciousness, which is why we so frequently say things like, oh my God, like I don't even know what I did, or oh my God, that wasn't me, I'm so sorry, that wasn't me. Like, well, of course it was you. Who was it? Like, you know, nobody came over and took over your body and hit the wall on your behalf or hit the other person on your behalf. It was you. But we go from unconscious to conscious, and it seems like that which happened in unconsciousness was not us. So the way to prevent anger in general is stay conscious. Stay aware. It doesn't mean that there won't be things that happen that irritate you, or that you would prefer to be different, or that you would see as wrong. But it means you will not be overtaken by the unconsciousness that sends the entire autonomic nervous system into overdrive. Blood pressure skyrockets, you're sweating, you're red, your entire vision goes from here to... And you do things you regret, you say things you regret. As you work with your awareness, your consciousness, your mindfulness, you'll start to notice anger while it's still really quite far away. You'll start to notice, I was triggered. I'm starting to notice this building of heat in my lower abdomen. We all have different beginning places, but for a lot of us it starts right here, and then it slowly rises and rises until we say something or we do something. You'll start to notice it. Anger. And you'll become curious about it. You'll notice it. Why am I so angry? You'll investigate it. You'll draw your awareness back to your breath. Slow, deep, low in the abdomen. And what'll happen is the unconscious, biological, neurological aspects of anger will dissipate. They'll disappear. You may still need to take some right action to fix a situation, but you're not going to lose yourself. So anger is workable. The other piece of working with anger that's really important is looking at why most of us get angry. And it's really quite simple. We want something, it doesn't happen. That which we want isn't happening. That which we don't want is happening. Hence, we get angry. And when you realize that, what you realize on a very deep level is, it's not the other guy making me angry. It's my wants. It's my likes or my dislikes. The other guy's just doing what he does. People are just living their lives. Acting how they act, speaking how they speak, living how they live. But it's my deep wants, my dislikes, my likes, what we call rag and dvesh, attachments, aversions, that makes me react to what they do in anger. So suddenly you realize, it's not the world that's made me angry. It's how I'm thinking about the world. And suddenly you're not a victim. Suddenly you're not someone with anger issues. Suddenly you're someone with a choice. And one of my all-time favorite questions, those of you who have been listening to Satsang for a while know that one of the things I love to do in my spiritual practice is not get harsh on yourself, not start to say, you shouldn't be like this or you should be like that, but just to inquire, to ask leading questions of the self that bring you into right realizations, but not because you are putting yourself down or belittling yourself or criticizing yourself, but just because you're opening the spaciousness into curiosity. And one of my favorite questions is there an alternative? Right? You act a certain way, you feel a certain way, you react a certain way. And the mind tends to do one of two things. Either it's on your side, it's your cheerleader. Yeah, you show them. Those guys are the worst. Yeah, put them in their place. Let them know who you are. Teach them a thing or two. Or the voice says, look at you. You're lost in anger again. You're a failure at this spiritual thing. Detriment to ourselves. And so my way of dealing with it is, you simply all those people react exactly the same way you did? Might there ever be in the future a person who could see that situation in a different way? And what you find, as I have found, is there's always an alternative. There's always some other way of reacting in the moment. There's always a choice. And simply giving yourself that question, so you're getting angry, anger is arising. These people are the worst, they're doing something wrong, how dare they? And you're just about to bawl them out, hit them, punch your fist through a wall, go out and drown your anger in alcohol or food or whatever it may be. And you just stop for a moment, just a moment, long enough to say, is there an alternative here? Might there be another way of dealing with the moment? And if you just allow yourself to sit in the space of possibility, what I have found is 100% of the time, I realize, of course there's an alternative. And what an alternative is, suddenly appears. The moment you soften, the moment that spaciousness is created, you realize, oh yeah, I could do this, I could do that, I could be like this. So just ask. Don't label yourself anger management problems. Just whenever anger arises, ask, is there an alternative? But the consciousness is key, otherwise you will be asking that question the morning after. Because remember, it's unconscious. So you've got to bring consciousness to it in order to be able to work with it. And then the forgiveness angle. So this is something we speak about a lot in satsang. It's a question that arises a lot. It's one of my favorite topics. It's something I've worked with a lot personally. Forgiveness is the most powerful path to healing, to awakening, to peace, to joy. But not only that, it is a non-negotiable prerequisite. Let me rephrase that, or rather just say it again. Non-negotiable prerequisite. It is a critical component of any deep and meaningful and successful spiritual path. If you are holding grudges, if you are holding on to an identity of yourself as the victim of something, you are thwarting, you are stopping, you are paralyzing your own spiritual path. And your emotional and psychological well-being as well. But seeing as this is a spiritual satsang, we'll focus spiritually, but you should know that it's also awful for your mental health. Non-negotiable. It's like if you ask any doctor today, choose an allopathic doctor, choose an Ayurvedic doctor, choose a naturopathic doctor, choose a Chinese medicine doctor, choose any doctor in the world you want. And you say, give me one non-negotiable for health. They'll say exercise, or they'll say fresh fruits and vegetables. I mean, there's a lot of non-negotiables that they'll all agree on. Forgiveness is the non-negotiable for mental and spiritual health. You cannot simultaneously eat nothing but jelly beans and be healthy physically. In the same way, you cannot simultaneously carry a grudge and be spiritually healthy. So you got to let it go. But that's exactly why we let it go. For our spiritual health. Not because the other person deserves forgiveness. Not because we are saying to the universe it's okay. Not because we are absolving them of what they've done. But simply because we deserve to be free. And because that anger and that story is a tumor in our spiritual growth. The law of karma is perfect. People are going to get the karmic repercussions for the pain and the suffering they give to others. You don't have to be the one who gives that. If you are the one who gives it, then, as my guru satsang in the garden back there, and I was under the trees, and every night I would see birds poop land on the couch on this side of me, on that side of me, and I thought it's just a matter of time before it lands like right on my head. And you spend enough time in nature and you're going to get pooped on by a bird. But the answer to that is not to find the bird and poop on it. The answer is you wash it off, right? I mean, I'm not going to leave it there and, do an Instagram post about those awful birds and if you see them, shoot them down because look, they pooped on my head. You're just going to wash it off. You understand, the bird is just doing what birds do. They poop. I happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. The person who threw up on me had some kind of food poisoning. They were sick. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But you're not going to try to take it out on them. But you're also not going to turn it into your identity. I was the one who was pooped on by a bird. Remember that? You're just going to go shower. You're going to wash it off. You're going to change your clothes. You're going to get on with your life. But you do realize that the longer you stay in those clothes, the longer I go without washing my hair, the harder it's going to be to get it out. And so your focus is going to be basically on how quickly can I get in the shower? How quickly can I get these clothes off? How quickly can I wash my hair so that it doesn't stain my clothes, my head? And that's the exact same way of dealing with what people do to you. People are just doing to you what they do like birds poop. Or like sick people throw up. Well, sometimes they throw up physically, and sometimes they do it with their words. Sometimes they do it with their wrong action. But it's all just a symptom and a symbol of them being diseased on the inside. And you happening to be in their sort of the wrong place at the wrong time. But your response to it should be exactly the same. How quickly can I wash this off of me? Whatever is done to you. Again, the universe is going to take care of them. Their karmic due is coming. But your focus should be, wash this off my heart, wash this off my mind before it stains. Great. Good question to start. Other questions that anyone here has? Yeah.
Namaste. My name is Tomitsu.
Can you speak?
Is that a little better?
We've actually been having a lot of people online write in and say, we can't hear the questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Tom Nitsa. I'm here with a small group of people, yoga enthusiasts, who've come here to enjoy your hospitality. Thank you very much. Your access to your spiritual infrastructure is wonderful. Romanians of a certain generation are going through a crisis of faith, mostly owing to a corrupt and not very in touch national church. So my question is to you, what do you think of, or what advice would you have for people that are cherry picking from the toolbox of the Hindi spirituality while trying to maintain their own national traditions?
Where are you from?
Romania.
So first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
And welcome to all of our sisters and brothers from Romania. Culture and politics are two different things. We hope in an ideal situation that our political, national government leaders will be those who embody our cultural traditions. And our cultural traditions frequently interweave with spiritual traditions. Because traditionally, culture and religion and spirituality were very much one. The dilemma happens when you get leaders who are not connected spiritually, culturally, and so they make decisions about policy, about country, that are not in alignment with culture, spirituality, the values. And this is where it's important for you to stay connected to your spiritual tradition. Stay connected to the core of the culture. And when I say the core of the culture, I don't mean social norms that may have been appropriate at a different time and place, no longer appropriate. But I mean the depth of that which enriches our life. Culture is something that should enrich our life. Culture should give us inspiration. It should give us a refuge, a mental refuge, an emotional refuge, a spiritual refuge from kind of the mundane world that we live in. And whether it's art, whether it's music, whether it's literature, whether it's community gathering, whether it's dance, whatever way our culture is expressed, it's a critical part of who we are. Hang on to that. And if nationally there's a conflict, ask yourselves how you can become part of the solution. Now, I don't know much about the way that the government system works in Romania, but to the extent that as yoga doing spiritually inclined civilians, you can help be part of movements that are in alignment with yogic philosophy, not Hindu philosophy, yogic philosophy, stuff that is universal. Ahimsa, nonviolence, satya, truth, right? This is the core, the yam and niyam of yogic philosophy. Asteya, non-stealing, right? These are core values. They have nothing to do with religion. But it's yogic dharma, yogic ethics, yogic commandments. So to the extent that you can bring that into your communities, and help more and more people become instruments of peace, of light, of oneness, you're going to have a ripple impact of change. And it may not be today, it may not even be tomorrow or the day after. In politics and government, a lot of times change takes a while. But work for it. And in the meantime, create another community. We don't have to abide by the culture that some of our leaders embody. We have to follow laws, but we don't have to buy into their viewpoint, their worldview, their values, their ethics. Create a yogic community that is as thriving and powerful and big as you can, so that people have access to something that is meaningful and deep for them, even as they're struggling with national issues. Yeah, of course. Yes, come forward. Yeah, sorry, it's a long way around from that side. It's good, you'll get your steps in. Yes.
Thank you so much for the wonderful words of wisdom sharing with us.
Can you come a little closer to the mic?
Is that okay? Yeah?
Yeah, maybe move it up a little.
Yeah.
There you go.
Is that okay?
It's on, it's on. It's
Yeah.
just about you standing in
Sure,
front of it.
thanks. My name is Manish, and I am, by profession, I am a mindfulness trainer.
Wonderful.
And I talk about stress and anger management also, along with gender equality and mainstreaming. And my question would be on mindfulness today. Okay, I do sessions and there is a common question that is asked from people. So when I talk about mindfulness, I talk about mindfulness walking, sleeping, eating, intimacy, whatever, so on and so forth. Okay, now there's a common question. People have a very short attention span and impatient also. People are impatient also. So what this is that what is the return on investment if we join mindfulness or if we practice mindfulness? Do you understand my question? They want immediate results.
Yes, I know.
So if this question is put to you, how would you reply to that?
Great. What is the return on your investment in mindfulness training? You know, a lot of people ask me, we have so many yoga programs here at Parmarth, and so many times people say to me, you know, doesn't it bother you that people only get into yoga because they want to be slim and trim and have good figures, or because they've got knee problems or back problems? And I always say, I don't care how people get into yoga. I don't care why they get into yoga. Because the power of yoga is so much that even if you get in because you're looking to become slim and trim or because you've got a bad knee, yoga will touch you and transform you. Just get in. And mindfulness is the same way. The moment that we start practicing being aware of ourselves. I mean, let's look at it. What is the purpose of mindfulness on a deep level? It brings us into the present moment. That's why we do it. Otherwise, I mean, honestly, like, who cares really if I just drink like that, or if I drink very mindfully? The first was my best attempt at, gulping, but, or, alternatively, if I am very, very slow and mindful. Like, why would it matter in the scheme of things? It matters because in the first instance, my mind wasn't there talking to you, thinking about the question, gulping water. Second, you'll notice I had to even stop speaking for a moment. Because the attention of being mindful on the glass, it takes all of what you've got. And what we know spiritually is all of my spiritual benefit, the more immediate level, peace, calmness, happiness, higher level, awakening, liberation, enlightenment, God realization, and everywhere in between can only happen in the present moment. None of it can happen when my mind is wandering. If I'm not here now, you can be sure I'm not in peace, I'm not happy, I'm not awakened, I'm not liberated, I'm not enlightened. None of that is possible if I'm not here right now. If my mind is in the past or the future. So mindfulness is the practice through which we train our attention to be here now. Because that's the non-negotiable prerequisite for the higher level spiritual experiences. Gotta be here. Mindfulness gives us the way to do that. So you could help them understand that it is a non-negotiable fundamental prerequisite for any higher spiritual experience. But you can also give them the science that people who practice at least 20 minutes of mindfulness meditation a day, we now have all of the neurological studies showing their prefrontal cortex actually grows. It actually gets thicker, meaning you are making new neurological connections. Now, our prefrontal cortex is the most advanced part of the brain. It's the part of the brain used for the highest level functioning. It's our ability to plan, to figure things out, to intuit, to kind of put two and two together, and all of your higher level planning, understanding, reasoning, all is prefrontal cortex. You can eat, drink, procreate, walk, run, jump with your lower brain. You can be angry, you can be sad, you can be sexually aroused, all lower brain. You want higher level life? You want to be creative? You want to be a leader? You want to be a visionary? You want to have deep, meaningful relationships? Prefrontal cortex. So mindfulness meditation is actually growing our prefrontal cortex. I would say if you spent 5 minutes on Google, you could come up with at least 10 super powerful Ivy League institution-done studies, because these days everyone is studying mindfulness and meditation, on how it increases our immunity, it increases our ability to concentrate, it increases our mental well-being. So that, to me, is a really good return on your investment, especially since it's free. Right? I mean, you don't even have to spend any money on it. You're talking 20 minutes a day. If anybody asked, if anybody's going to join a gym, they wouldn't say, what's the return on my investment? People understand, spend time at the gym, I will be healthier. Meditation doesn't even require a membership fee. You never hurt yourself. No torn ligaments, no strained muscles, no nothing. So yeah, it's a risk-free, premium-free, dues-free way of getting all of the benefits that you possibly could. Yeah, absolutely. Other questions? Yeah. Yes, you. Namaskar. You have to just bring the mic down a little bit, yeah.
My name is Mamta, and I'm from Delhi. I'm a tutor by profession.
A little bit more? Thanks.
My name is Mamta, and I'm a tutor by profession staying in Delhi. I believe forgiveness is easy, and with time we learn to let go also. But my point is, what about grief? I found grief stays inside, deep
Grief.
that stays deep into the soul. And I am scared that I don't want to carry this grief into another world. So what to do with that?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we were speaking about grief the other night as well. It definitely stays with you. It changes you also. Grief is one of those experiences that changes you. What happens though is you change around the grief. So grief is not something that you get free of. Grief is a reminder that you loved. It's a reminder that you loved. And so you don't want to be free of that. But what you want to do is be able to experience, discover joy, love, exuberance anyway. And it becomes a beautiful spiritual practice in yes and. Yes and. Yes, I grieve the loss of this person. And look at the beautiful sunrise. And listen to this beautiful music. And look at this being I love so much. And the two can coexist. Now, grief does not, as far as anything I've ever read or studied or heard, emotions do not come with us into the next life. When we look at the subtle body, the sukshma sharir, that travels with the jivatma into the next life, it's made up, in terms of our mind, of what we call man, buddhi, and ahankar. The mind, the intellect, the ego. Not the actual emotions, but the patterns and the way that we think. So the impression upon the psyche of a way of thinking. So for example, if along with the grief, you develop a pattern of thought that says, these things always happen to me. Everyone else is happy, only I can never be happy. Everyone else's children, parents, spouses are still living, only mine isn't. God hates me, the universe hates me, nothing ever happens good to me. That is a pattern of thought. And it creates what we call a sanskara, literally a groove in our mental framework, in our psyches, in our mind. It's not a simple thought. It is a way of thinking. It is a pattern of thinking. It's a groove, literally. You know, if you say, if this were a piece of rock, let's say, or a piece of cement, something hard, and it were flat, and I poured this glass of water over it, the water would flow down evenly across the entire thing. But if I took a key, or my fingernail, or another rock, and I kept going over one place, over and over and over, eventually I would create a groove in the rock, in the cement. And then when I pour the water over it, more and more of the water is going to go into the groove. And the more water that goes in the groove, the deeper the groove gets. And the deeper the groove gets, the more it attracts all of the water. So it becomes a cycle. This is how the mind works. The more I think in a certain way, the deeper the groove of that way of thinking gets, meaning the more I am likely to think in that way. You must have noticed there are some people who will trip and fall and say, oh my God, I'm so clumsy, and stand up and move on. Or who trip and fall and say, oh God, I didn't even see that rock. Wow, good thing I didn't, bash my head in it and die. And they'll stand up and keep going. And then there's some people who will trip and fall and say, oh my God, yeah, it figures, like I'm the one who needs to fall. Yeah, it totally figures. Like today was the job interview. Obviously, I'm going to fall and, get all dirty and scratched up and have a good case of PTSD before I walk into the job interview. Like it just figures. Right? We know both of these types of people. Maybe you even identify yourself as one of those types of people. That is an impression in your psyche. That is a sanskara. That stays with you. The individual trip over the rock, the individual thought in the moment, it doesn't. So the emotion of grief is not going to go with you. But the pattern of thought that's going to hold on to the grief, I will never be happy. The universe does not have good things for me. Only bad things happen to me. I will never experience love again. That way of thinking becomes a groove, becomes a sanskara in the man, and it will go with you. So allow the grief to be there when it's there, but allow yourself simultaneously to open the mind and the heart, the awareness, to all of the other experiences that happen simultaneously. Don't keep doing this over and over. It's there, okay? Acknowledge it. Don't push it away. It's a reminder that you loved. It's fine. But don't live with blinders on. Make a very concerted effort to get up every day and watch the sunrise. Make a concerted effort to fill your home with beautiful flowers. Water flowers, water plants. Make sure that there's always beautiful, classical, spiritual, uplifting music playing in your home. Expose yourself as much as you can to the experience of beauty, the experience of joy, the experience of life. And slowly, 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 what you'll find is grief will still be there. But it will no longer be alone. It'll suddenly become one of the many different experiences and emotions and thoughts that you have every day. So it won't create that pattern in the mind. Beautiful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evenings. A beautiful day to our family online. And again, just to remind everybody, we do have a full day here at Parmarth of wonderful yoga classes, meditation classes, philosophy classes, a beautiful morning fire ceremony just right out here in our ancient grove of trees. Everything is open to everyone. There's no charge for anything. So please feel free and please join us in as many of the activities during the day as you can. And I look so forward to seeing you all again tomorrow. And so